Here we go. First ever police softball podcast. Man, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to be able to get this show on the road. Most people who are tuning in probably into the game of softball, police softball in particular. But hey, we're going to be discussing all types of things of softball on this show. So it doesn't matter if you're police or not, ultimately, and we're going to be talking about this game that we love. But hey, super excited. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to just start with going ahead and talking about what it is that this show is going to be doing. We are trying to expand our police softball community is what we're trying to do with this show. The goal is going to be just to introduce different players on different circuits, talk about different tournaments. We're going to be talking about managing a team, raising funds for a team, just everything that has to do with the game. Super excited about having guests like we have today. We have some awesome guests to start off our first show, but I'm super excited to have guests that are going to come out and, demonstrate some of their skills, as far as we got home run derby kings. We're going to be going out, we're going to be videotaping their technique, maybe some share some of their secret sauce as far as how they hit those long balls. Take it easy, guys. How they hit those home runs, so, hey, that's what this show is going to be on this particular episode, the first episode ever of Police Softball Podcast. We're going to have two guests here that are, they're legends in their own way in the police softball community. I have a lot of respect for these guys. And I can just tell you that there's a whole bunch of knowledge and experiences, stories that are just, I'm ready to get to it and to get this thing, get this ball rolling on this. So I want to thank everybody for showing up. We got Zachary David, Andy Parada, Wayne Spencer Jr., Paul Chavez. What's going on, brother? Tyler Wilson from Canada. It's my Canadian connection right there. When you start looking at all these guys, Todd Long, you start looking at all these dudes and, the connections that we have all over the nation, it's just amazing. And one of the circuits, and it's the circuit in police softball we're going to be highlighting today is the policesoftball.com World Series. Now, that's like the Mecca. That's like it. And so we're very fortunate today because we're going to get the show on the road. We've got one of the co-founders of policesoftball.com with us. We've got Jeff Blair, and this guy here, he is a chief on his department in Tustin. He's a deputy chief in Tustin, and he is responsible, along with Dale Pickney, for putting this all together, man. So I'm super excited to have Jeff with us. What's going on, brother?
Hey.
I'll tell you what, it's like pulling teeth from these guys. I was talking to them earlier, just to try to get some accolades, something that these dudes like, give me some, and they don't want to talk about themselves. So I will. This dude, police officer, 31 years, going to be retiring soon. I'm very happy for this dude, man. We can never take that for granted. There's a lot of our fellow officers that never get to see that day. And so, hey, we're there with you, Jeff. I'm super excited for you. Again, he's the PS.com co-founder. Along with Dale Pickney. There are my boys there. That's what I'm talking about. He's a 4-time Majors Division champion and a 2-time Masters Division champion. That's for the old guys. You can go figure. And a 2013 PS.com Hall of Fame. So, Jeff, man, thank you so much for joining me today, man. You agreeing to be on this first police softball podcast, man, gave me so much comfort because I know that you share in the joy that I have in being around my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. We got the game, but like we were talking about earlier, go ahead and share with everybody what you were telling me earlier, because it's exactly how I feel.
Well, first of all, Trini, it's an honor to be on your first podcast along with my brother, Rick from the East Coast. You couldn't have picked a better guy to have me work with on the first podcast. And I was chatting with Rick before we went live here, we were talking about what police softball was all about. And we were talking about the tournament, and I said, man, I'm not most proud of softball. I'm most proud of the relationships that have been cultivated because of softball. And I was telling Rick the story about how if it weren't for police softball, Rick would have never got to know Dell, who would have never got to know John Scolo. And the three of those guys became like these three amigos. They would vacation together. Dell would always fly back to New York. They would go to Florida. Scolo would come up. I mean, it was just this amazing like friendship between three guys who couldn't have been more geographically spaced out. You're talking Southern California, New York, and the tip of Florida, right? So, although softball is, what brings us together, the softball tournament itself only lasts for a weekend. It's the friendships that last, year round beyond that. And unfortunately, it's life though, man. People, there's life, there's death. Both Scolo and Dell have now passed away, but their memories are with us. But I mean, this is what we're talking about, is we're talking about, the impact you make on people for a lifetime and how it transcends beyond their lifetime. Because here we are still talking about, Dell and John Scolo beyond their years because of softball. So that's what I'm most proud of. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, my honor, man. And you hit the nail on the head. And that's why I felt like this was, for me, it was an appropriate time to say, hey, how can I do more to bring us together? This is a difficult time that our nation's going through, obviously. And man, I'm missing police softball. Our season normally starts around March. Thankfully, we have a group app, and that's cool. Keeps us all connected. But man, it's nothing like showing up and actually, sharing our time together. So, Jeff, we're going to have you back here in just a second. I'm going to introduce my next guest. So, what we've got. What did you ask? Police Softball World Series right here, baby. Got my shirt on, got my hat on for PS.com. And so what I want to be able to do now is introduce my next guest, Rick Tirelli. This dude here, when I was asking around, I asked different folks, hey, who is it that, man, this dude just from the beginning has just spewed kind of like a police softball. Like this dude, it's in his veins, and it's, he's a representation of not only a kick butt player, then a manager, and just ultimately a real legend in the game that can really bring a great insight in. And Rick, like I told you before, man, multiple people mentioned your name. So when you agreed to come out and join us on this podcast, I was extremely happy. So thank you so much for being here. And if you don't mind, man, just let everybody know, what's the deal with Rick Tirelli.
Well, I greatly appreciate it. It is an honor, and it's more an honor to be with Jeff. As Jeff said, we've been friends for a long time. I want to dedicate my appearance here today to two of my best friends ever in police softball are no longer with us, is Del Pickney and John Scolo. And I think that, Jeff had touched upon not only the friendships that we've developed, but the brotherhood that police softball does give us today. It's not only on the field, it's off the field, what we do. When we need something across the country, we always had someone to reach out to. But Del, myself, and Johnny Scolo, we stayed friends on and off the field. Our families spent time together. And it was the greatest honor to call them my brothers. But police softball does a lot for a lot of people. I remember a couple of years ago, they had done that nice video that was just recently on police softball again. And it just demonstrates what we do out there every day. And police softball gives us that opportunity to just unwind and to be with the people that understand us and what we do every day. And it gives me the greatest honor to play police softball. I started in 1996. I played with one of the most intense players I've played with in my life, Dan Spinelli. And 2 years with the Lawmen. And then Dan and I, we started the NYPD Blues in 1998. And I gave it up, I think, 2 years ago. It just became too much with everything I was doing in life with my own police stuff, and then also doing TV shows. And I moved on a little bit, but I'll tell you, I miss it every day. I do. And we had some great times in between the lines. Met a lot of friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. I'll tell you, I got a little bit of a superstar on our hands here, man. I know you've got a show that is out there, and you're with Kaufman Productions. Man, can you tell us a little bit about the shows, just so people who maybe aren't in the circuit maybe can check you out and check out what it is you've done?
Sure. Like anything you do in life, it's the people you surround yourself with. My success came from the players that I surrounded myself with, and I always felt the best players. And it's funny that you had said something before about, and Jeff brought up a point about how all guys always hustled. And I'll never forget one of the best players last year's East Coast Player of the Year. His dad and I played together, Eric Thies and Ryan Thies, who were two stud players. Forget it. Oh, my goodness. And Eric came in one day, and he was out a little bit late the night before. And he gave me that, yeah, coach, I hit really good in practice, right? I said, yeah, good. He didn't play the whole rest of the day. And he looked at me, what's the matter? I said, you must stay out all night. Yeah, I could play on this team. That kid never, ever went out again. Yeah. And then what do you become? The best player on the circuit. Yeah. So we prided ourselves. And as Jeff did and other coaches out there, we go to these tournaments. We want to have fun. But you know what? When it's time to play, be ready to play. And that was something that we kept going. But as far as the TV career, I was very fortunate. I worked with a fellow named Bill Clark, and he did NYPD Blue. And during the time I was doing that show, we named our team the NYPD Blues. And that's us right there up on the screen right there. One of the best teams I ever played with. I'll tell you. Oh, yeah. A lot of talent on that team.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, I just started doing my own stuff, and I did a couple of shows. I married a mobster. I did a lot of stuff with I did some stuff with Keanu Reeves, and I did a movie called Pride and Glory.
Yeah.
And I did a show with A Perfect Murder, which was on for 5 seasons on the Investigation ID channel.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. My wife, when I go into the room at night, she's got like, Am I Alive? I Shouldn't Be Alive. All these shows. I mean, she constantly is watching all those types of shows. So yeah, man, I know how impactful those things are. Hey, Jeff, we can bring Jeff back on. I'll tell you what, I really enjoy Matty Waugh. Thank you so much for being here. Tyler Wilson, you like the hat, brother? So I'm talking about my Canadian connection here. Night Shift, representing Night Shift here. These guys are cool, man. They came down to the Texas Showdown, and not only did they give me the shirt off their back, literally, but ultimately they made me one of their jerseys, and it's got the name on the back. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got my name and my number on the back, man. I was really, really happy with that. Great dudes, man. So back to that, my big thing with the circuit is the relationships, of course. But man, we know that policesoftball.com is, and if you guys don't know, it's important to go. You can look it up on policesoftball.com, exactly the way it's titled. And, you send in your information. They'll approve you on that message board. There you go. Jeff's got the shirt on. And they'll approve you on that message board. And ultimately, you can get involved in conversations with these officers from all over the nation. And different topics are brought up, and you're able to discuss it on a platform like that. It's really neat, man. Keeps us engaged all year long. So, hey, Calvin Johnson, what's going on? I'm Jamie Givens, and Tyson. That's what I'm talking about. Night Shift. Yeah, man. So anyway, hey, Jeff, go ahead and tell us about the policesoftball.com, how it got started. We've got Dale. Dale was very fortunate to be able to host a tournament where you and Dale were able to come down, and it was his birthday, around his birthday time. And we were able to, make it a special day, not knowing what was about to happen, there shortly after. So I was so happy to be able to, to afford that opportunity to just make them smile, to kind of our team to be able to make them smile. It was really cool. So, Jeff, if you can tell us about policesoftball.com, how it got started and what it's evolved into. And Rick, chime in whatever you want, brother.
I'll try to make it very concise here. So, Dale and I started a station softball team, Tustin PD. We were called Tustin Stick Time. We played league nights. I think we ended up winning like the lowest level championship, and we thought we were the stuff. And then we went and we played in, there was tournaments out in California, and we played in like, the big one was in Cathedral City, Palm Springs. And we went out there like in 99 or something, and we beat, like, we were supposed to be the fodder team, like every bracket's got like the top team, and then you got like all the another good team, and then a couple teams that aren't quite as good. And then you got the team at the bottom that's supposed to get beat up on. Well, we were the team at the bottom that was supposed to get beat up on, Tustin PD. And somehow we beat the LA Sheriff Wongs, which at the time was one of the top teams in the nation. Man, and we ended up losing in the playoffs, but we thought, man, this is it, man. The softball, I'd never played on a field like Big League Dreams before. I've never hit a ball out of the park before and hit a home run there. I just fell in love with softball. And like I said, it was the first time I've ever been to that Big League Dreams before. It was brand new. It was in the late 90s. And Dale and I said, hey, let's take this Tustin police team, out and try to play in the police Olympics and stuff like that. Things evolved, and the only way back then, it was snail mail, right? So you get these flyers sent to your station saying, hey, there's a tournament somewhere, right? And you'd go. And at the time, the internet was pretty new, and Dale was always pretty cutting edge when it came to technology. And he said, hey, have you heard of the internet or AOL, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I don't know about any of this stuff, right? And one night we were both graveyard patrol sergeants, and there was this 24-hour taco stand in Tustin. And we meet, the cops, side by side in the police cars, and we're the only two sergeants on duty, 2 sergeants and like 10 cops, right? So we meet side by side, and Dale says, I'm going to start a website called policesoftball.com, and we're going to take all these flyers and put them on this website so people know where the tournaments are rather than getting everything via snail mail. I'm like, all right, man, I don't know much about the internet, but it sounds like a good idea. So I said, once he built it up, I said, listen, I'll go to the different like states and try to find out where their message boards and chat rooms are. And I started blasting it out and, hey, come join our message board and whatnot. So before you know, we had guys like Florida and stuff jumping in, and this happened really fast, man. This is like internet 1.0, right? So in that very first year, I realized, man, we're having guys from Jacksonville chat on here and guys from New York. And by the way, the New York messages back then were just brutal. Man, it was awesome because everyone was anonymous, right? So man, there was guys, you didn't want to miss it because it was like Jerry Springer on this thing, right? So that was, but whatever the case is, I said, man, there's enough teams like that seem interested in communicating with each other. And back then it was pretty clear, man, there was what's going on the West Coast, which everything, Nevada West, and everything going on in the East. And we didn't know anything about Texas, man. You guys are on an island over there.
Yeah.
It's still part of Mexico, I think, right? so you got the East Coast and you got the West Coast, and all they were talking about was Dayton and, maybe a little bit some of the other tournaments, Sterling Heights and Virginia Beach. And all we were talking about was what was going on in Palm Springs or the Police Olympics or maybe Tahoe. So I hatched the idea. I said, hey, let's throw a World Series and let me see if I can get into that Big League Dreams facility in Palm Springs.
Awesome.
And long story short, that's how it started out. I had to sell it to those Big League Dream guys because they didn't know anything about us, right? So I had to go in there and just, man, I guarantee you we're going to, get a lot of teams. And I think we got like 32 teams the first year, Rick, and Rick was there. And that first year, and man, I don't want to just keep this big narrative going, but long story short is I liken it. I equate it to UFC 1. And if you guys ever watched the UFC 1, you had no idea what to expect, right? It's like sumo guy fighting a boxer, right? And I remember all our buddies, right? I'm betting on the sumo guy. I'm betting on the box. And the next round was like karate guy against like bar fighter, right? That was World Series 1. And I remember just looking in awe at seeing the uniforms come through those front gates of Big League, New York PD, Detroit, Miami. All I'd seen was around us, LAPD and stuff like it. It was awesome, but that's how it started.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, we here in San Antonio, and I didn't bother introducing myself just yet. I was excited to get to you guys. I missed my whole introduction. That's okay though. You all are my host. I'm hosting you. That's at Texas. Yeah, that's our way of doing things. But man, around Texas, we were pretty good, and we did our thing, and I told the guys, I said, man, I heard about this tournament, and man, we want to go up. And we started hearing all the chatter like, hey man, you probably going to need to pick up some dudes or whatever. And I'm like, whatever, man, we've heard this. I don't know how many times before. And, I'm pumping the guys up as a coach does, hey man, hell with these dudes, man, we're going to go up there. We're going to show them what's about, We went up there, man, and we got introduced to the World Series majorly. I think we had the defending champions on our first game. I was like, I'm so happy these dudes don't have return flights until 2 days from now, because it was pretty bad. But I'll tell you what, it was really neat to be able to see that step up in competition. But I want to make sure that we make it clear. This show is for all officers everywhere. That all police softballs in all types of cities. We've gone up and helped Team Louisiana. They throw a tournament that to help Special Olympics, and SA Law went up there, and we played in it. And man, it's all over the place. Our goal is to bring these officers in so that they understand, what this big, like the big circuit is. So on that note, can you explain like the divisions? First off, how many teams come up there on average, the divisions that you offer, and something that a team that, obviously we got a lot of dudes tuning in that have a lot of experience within the circuit. But for those teams that are maybe watching this for the first time or ultimately watch this later, can you go ahead and give them a feel for what the World Series offers?
Okay, so back to the UFC one, right? UFC one, like, man, it's like there were some pretty lopsided matches going on there, right? And that was World Series one. When we put the New York PD Blues up against, Antioch PD from California, and it was like, 38-0 in the first inning, we realized that, like we needed to create some kind of balance. So for the first 3 or 4 years, there was just one big division, man, and whatever you got. And it was pretty clear, like the monsters, the New York PD Blues, the LAPD, all the big name teams, Michigan Lawmen, whatever, they were smashing people, right? So it was a mixed decision. Obviously, the big teams didn't want to separate into different divisions, and the smaller teams did. But anyway, we grew from 32 teams up into 80 teams, right? So we are maxed out, right? I could put 100 teams out there, but I have we've been playing 24/7, 24 hours a day, and the tournament run 5 days long. So we got to put a cap on it somewhere. So long story short, there's 3 divisions. You have the majors division, which is the elite division. I mean, those guys, if you ever watch a majors division, the speed of the way the game is played and their ability to hit the ball where they want to, the pitching, the defense, it's flawless. I mean, it is flawless. And that's when you talked about your teams like, your New York Hounds and your defending champions, LAPD Blue, SinCal Connection, these teams, flawless softball. A step, I call them the light heavyweights, would be your mid-major division, right? And those guys, man, they're right there with them. But there is a step above for those majors guys. Some of the mid-majors teams can definitely beat the majors teams, but not consistently. You're not going to find a mid-major team knock off, 4 heavyweights in a row. And then the majority of the teams, this is where everyone's going to fall in. This is so that's only 32 teams. So you got 16 in the majors, 16 in the mids. The majority of the teams, the next 40 teams, 50 teams, whatever it is, they fall into the gold division. Keep in mind, some of the gold division teams are pretty damn good, right? Yeah. Gold division teams beat majors teams on any given day. So what we do is have a gold division, and then if you don't play well in the gold division, and some very good gold division teams have had bad weekends, and they drop down to what we call the silver. And the silver division is designed for the teams that kind of the smaller market teams, but every once in a while, like Louisville did it to us, and they screwed over my program because they dropped down into the silver, and then they run ruled everybody to the silver. That's not the way we want that to work. We want it to truly be, the smaller market teams. But anyway, that's so 4 divisions: majors, mid majors, gold, and silver.
Yeah. Awesome. So, somebody comes up and they're saying, all right, well, what's the deal with this softball? Somebody might have in their mind, because I know for a long time it was just an ASA, but we play a game. It's U-Trip. And maybe, Rick, can you give a quick rundown on the U-Trip?
Well, I'll tell you, want to know about U-Trip, you could watch a guy like Ryan Coe or Butcher Crozier pitch, and that's how you learn how to pitch. Those guys keep you off back. Biscuit, some of these guys over the years. I mean, it's so funny. When I played civilian ball, it was pretty much gun and shoot. That was it. Today, you watch these pitch. I love when people, because I was a baseball player, and I love the baseball players that say, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" You softball. What is softball? And then they go out there and they try to play, and then you have 5-man infield, and that these guys are like, "Wait a minute, this is crazy," But I'll tell you, you play against a Ryan Coe, or you play against a Butch Crozier, and Biscuit back in the day, Pancake, and these guys are just, the DEA. We can never beat DEA, no matter what we ever did. They always beat us for some reason. Even here we had I think we lost 1 game all year, and they double dipped us in the World Series. But again, pitching in this league is different. And let me tell you, guys try. Listen, you play civilian ball. guys don't respect the game is like we respect the game. We know people got to go to work the next day.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
Middle.
Yeah.
It does happen. Believe me, there's been games where you
And
shoot.
especially in U-Trip. I mean, it's different for those that don't really get it. ASA, you're standing on the mound. You know, you got to have one motion. The ball's got to go a pretty good arc. I don't know the details on that, but I know on U-Trip, man, this pitchers are able to move around the mound. They're able to juke. We call it juking. You know, they're able to do, man, and the good pictures. I mean, the great ones, especially. Man, these guys, they know how to change up their delivery. They know how to change up their speed. It's a whole different ballgame. When I try to explain to people about what U-Trip is and then the level of the World Series, it's hard to describe it. I mean, I myself had to go and experience it, you know, and so it is difficult. It's a whole different ballgame, man, U-Trip. And by the way, Jeff, just so you know, we did have, I think it was Paul. Paul said, man, Jeff is looking swole, but they haven't seen anything yet, have they? They haven't seen anything. Let's see what, you know, Jeff, you got the veins, you got the veins pumping out.
Oh, no.
You know you just worked out. You know you just worked out. Come on.
I certainly do.
Yeah. But
so Rick, so I want to piggyback on what Rick said about pitching. So for any team that has never come to the World Series before,
yeah.
If you have never seen a USSSA pitcher, at least go onto YouTube and watch some of the guys, because you don't know. I mean, Rick brought up Ryan Coe. I mean, like when we got him on the team, I remember, you know, it used to be in the West Coast particularly. It used to be like you put your old fat guy on the mound, right? And he serves it up, and you expect the batter not to hit it, you know, anywhere within 5 feet of the guy. Otherwise, it was disrespectful, right? So we're playing the usual teams, getting our butts kicked. And Coe says, hey, it was a USSSA tournament, but nobody was using the USSSA juking and stuff. It just was, we didn't do it. And Coe goes, U-Trip, right? And so Coe gets out there and he starts juking and jiving. And I remember guys coming unglued. Like, this has got to be illegal. Like, he was stepping off the rubber. He would juke and pump it to where he's like 3 feet in front of him and throw it. And they would swing, not knowing that it was an illegal delivered pitch, right? And he was just, I mean, he pissed people off. So we were the first team, and we talk about the importance of pitching, and Rick brought it up. I mean, like a guy like Butch Crozier, you don't get to like, hey, I'd like to like try to lace one down the right side against Butch. It's like, I'm just trying to make contact against this guy, right? I'm just trying to get the bat on the ball, right? So Cole, we were the first team out west, at least, to put our most athletic guy on the mound, which was unheard of back then, because usually you got a shortstop or you put him in center field. They're going, why are you guys wasting your 25-year-old kid on the mound? I go, because I want him having the ball every play, right? Every play, he starts with the ball. It's like your best player. It's like Kobe Bryant. You want him to have the ball in the basketball court. That was our thing with Coe. And you've seen teams evolve, just like the UFC now. Ain't no good team going to win the World Series without a good pitcher, right? Think about who's won it. The Blues won it. Butch, Biscuits won it. Coe's won it. Keith Habig, Tolliver. These guys are all great.
Man, that kid is unbelievable.
Right. You got to have a good pitcher. And the higher up you get, the more important that is. So Rick nailed it. Pitching matters. Pitching is the most important thing. And if you get an intimidating guy like a Butch up there, right? The guy's like 6'6", and he's standing on top of the rubber and throw that hard knuckleball at you, and you're like, excuse me, sir, I just want to so.
Or Jeff, you know what's funny? When I first came on the circuit, there was a Sammy Sapienza, who's a legend in police softball and in softball in general, civilian as well. I think he's still playing after 2 knee replacements and whatever else. The guy's amazing. But he used to wear a headband, and he'd get up there and he'd do his juking and this thing. And I was thinking to myself, and guy used to piss people off because at that time, not many people were doing it. Sammy was like, I think the first person I saw do it, and he was doing all kinds of stuff. And you'd see teams get pissed off. I mean, they'd be really pissed, but he'd have more balance. And again, what he did on the mound controlled the game. He controlled the game.
And I love talking about these pictures because, just like Thesis said, man, Eric, they are game changers, man. Oh, hell.
There he is.
That's what I'm talking.
See, that right there.
My wife took that picture. That's at the Golden Nugget at the World Series last year.
Dude, I'm telling you, you are swole. And man, I'll tell you, when you're at the World Series, the way you run around, I can see why you're all ripped up. Man. You're always moving, dude. You're always moving. Yeah, man. So I think, talking about these pictures is so important because that was one of the things that I learned when we went to the World Series was, man, it's like a whole nother level. And to y'all's point, I played a lot of ball before I started managing the team, which that's a whole nother show, and we will get into it. But, these pitchers, when we had a good one, man, you'd hear the other teams going, man, what's up with that? You want to do that kind of stuff? You need to, man, they just couldn't adjust. They couldn't adjust. And so,
real quick, Raphael, Trini, I just saw one of the guys on here. His kid named Jason Brennan posted on here. He's the new DEA pitcher. So he's exactly what you want as far as like, he gets the other team mad. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he'll be walking away from you and pitch it behind him. And the other guys get so focused on the pitcher that hitting becomes like secondary, right? Yeah. So it's the really good hitter. There's some of the bottom line is the hitter's going to win. A good hitter's going to win because the ball's still coming under him, right? Yeah. But the majority of the guys can't get over the fact of, this guy's juking and jiving and doing this crazy stuff like that it gets in their head. And Rick is right. So when we talk about Sapiens, there's been waves, right? So you've seen evolution. So now we have the new Sapienses, and it became Co, and now the Co's become like the Jason Brennans of the circuit and stuff like that. So, anyway.
So, we're going to, on this show, we're going to end up having, these very detailed descriptions on different positions. Because one of the articles I enjoyed reading that Swami, I believe it was, posted, it was about the fifth man. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we learned when we showed up was how important that fifth man is, because we didn't do that. People didn't do that much here, at least. And we kind of stayed in our groove of what got us to where we were at. It was one of those where you learn in life that, boy, you better adapt. What got you to where you are may not get you to where you want to be. Right. So we needed to adapt. And that was a big lesson because, man, you get these guys who can place that ball like these top tier teams can, and man, they'll just eat you alive. So, on that fifth man, what are your thoughts on a fifth man? Like if you could name, we know that the pitcher is critically important. Would you think that the fifth man's the next one, or who would you say is the next most important position?
I will tell you one thing. Before the fifth man, Donnie Myers was the shortstop and the fifth man.
Oh yeah,
Donnie Myers was. I mean, between him and Malik, our biggest nemesis on the East Coast was Metro. And Red ran a team that they knew, man, you better be ready to play. And you got guys like Flip, Malik, and Donnie Myers. They'll still run with these kids.
They're playing today. They still play.
Those guys played. They made plays and they were the fifth man. I don't know where the hell they came from. But I think the fifth man today, when you look at players like today, and I mean, Jeff could tell you better because I'm a little bit removed, but I'll tell you, when we got Ryan Thies on our team, what a difference. Between him and Jimmy New, up the middle, it was just that fifth man became so intricate. Everyone changes their swing.
So, I'll pile on to that a little bit. The importance of the fifth man. So, I was blessed to have in my era, I think was the best pitcher, Ryan Coe. I never had to face him, Ryan Coe. And then the best fifth man was Nate Baez, right? Nate was the guy, with his flat bill, and the guy was all over the place. And keep in mind, guys, I was the starting second baseman for the Alliance for 10 years. I never missed a game, right? And my job was to stay out of everybody else's way defensively. No and they, he was such a good pitcher. Like, I would be on an island on the right side. I mean, I would be over there, and like every hitter was going up there. I'm going to hit one of Blair, right? I want to hit one of that guy because I was not a great fielder. If you hit it at me, I might get it, right? But I mean, I'm not going to range 15 feet to my left or right.
Yeah.
But Nate all of a sudden would come flying over to my side and make a play that I, was designed to be for me. And Nate would make that play, or Co would be, he would literally pitch the guys, bust them so far inside. They would do some stupid swing to try to hit to my side. That'd be a routine grounder to me.
Yeah.
So the fifth man, when you get two guys like a Co and a Nate, so I can go on and on with the teams. The Hounds have it right now with Thies and that Duke guy, right?
Yeah.
Those two guys are clicking when the pitcher and the fifth man are clicking. And then if you get the center fielder who's smart too, and he's know which way to shade, and you're batting, it looks like there's no holes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're just like, man, let me just hit it hard somewhere and hope that somebody doesn't catch it, right?
Yeah.
So I somehow got through 10 years on the Alliance of, I don't know, there's no way that I must have had the least attempts of any second baseman in the history of the sport for 10 years because they didn't hit the ball at me very much. And I was over there by myself. Like,
I
got the game like two grounders. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. What you're talking about there is understanding that relationship between that fifth man and that pitcher. It's so important. And I'm excited for these future shows because we're going to be able to dive into that, because a lot of people don't realize, and if those two aren't working together, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, they got to work together. But on that note, when it comes to these teams that maybe aren't as familiar, that fifth man, you're dealing with now a 3-man outfield, because what you're doing is you're taking your 4 guys from the outfield and you're bringing one in to the infield to try to take away those hot shots that base hits. You're trying to force these guys to go up in the air. And tell you one of the things about it is that those outfielders, they got to have some legs, because they're covering a lot of real estate. So that's cool. Hey, shout out to Missouri Lawman for that shirt and that last one, and to Mark Jackson.
Joey Monahan.
Appreciate that, brother. Another night shift shirt. I'm representing for you boys. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have Joe on this show here shortly. Also, man, I'm excited to talk to him.
It's funny when you talk about intimidating players, though, and you talk about like the Koznet. Every time we used to play the Evil Empire, you'd watch Mike Schneider walk on the field. Man, here's a guy 6'5", runs like. I don't even understand the guy. It's like he's almost abnormal. Like he hits the ball to pitcher, he's on second base. You hit the ball to the outfield, he's catching it. He's on first, he's scoring in the gap. And then he hits the ball anywhere he wants to on the field. I mean, the guy's one of the best players I personally have ever seen. I mean, I don't know. You play with him more than me, Jeff. And I'll tell you, when I play with that guy, not only is he a gentleman on the field and off the field, that guy is you talk about some of these guys on that team on several teams that would walk on, some of these DEA guys and all the teams. There's so many guys throughout the country. When they walk on the field, you just look. Minnesota. I'll tell you a quick funny story about Minnesota. I think it was either 1996 or 1997. I believe it was 97. We go out for late night after the late night. We're going to go stop at like Denny's, and we run into the Minnesota Lawman team, and they're this and that with us and whatever. And Timmy Flynn, who's one of my best friends now, he's like, "We're gonna run rule you tomorrow." Yeah, you're gonna run rule us, whatever. And I bet him like whatever, and we'd run rule them. But I have to tell you something. We had battles with them and Michigan Lawmen over the years, and Shamrock. We used to travel over the country. We could have played Shamrock in our own backyard. What the hell? We spend all this money to travel. I got to play in everywhere we go. And when Massey, that kid was a beast. I mean, little Neil. I mean, they were just great players. Yeah. And but the funny thing about it was when you got off the field and when you're in those lines, hey, the competition was great. When you stepped off the field, we'd all have a beer and hang out, and the camaraderie and the friendship that we developed. I miss it. I do miss it. I do have to tell you, I miss it.
I'll tell you what, man. Before I keep going, shout out to my New York Hounds right here. Appreciate it. And wearing my Lone Star, representing my Lone Star jersey that was given to me. I want to highlight something on that. Val Lopez was our original coach of SA Law. We've been around since 1988. We have a lot of tradition on this team. I run things the way that you're talking about, Rick, when you're talking about like, hey, man, if you come to this team, hey, that's an oldie but a goodie. That's when we won a championship. You're talking about Kilty. We used to go to Kilty and play up there, and that's when I first got introduced to the New York Hounds, to the New York teams, the NYPD and all, because these dudes, I don't know if any of them are under 6'2". I mean, huge dudes, and then Chicago came down. But here's the thing that I'll tell you, not just big dudes, but athletic. I mean, I couldn't believe that these guys could stretch out and do what they were doing. I mean, it was crazy, man. And it was really neat. But hey, thank you guys a lot. I love it when I'm able to get these jerseys. Hey, so we're talking about, the tournament. We're talking about, the big stage, the World Series. Can you guys just touch on what is neat about when they go? Because one of my favorite things to do is to stay at the host hotel, because you see everyone, man. You're in an environment just full of policemen, and you got to look like Jeff before you go out to the pool there. Because there you go. You got to look like that before you decide you want to show up to the pool.
Old and bald.
Actually, I've seen some dudes that don't care at all, and they just head to the pool, and that's cool, man. It's neat. I have yet to make it out to the pool. I'm always running around and doing stuff, but man, tell us about that, man. Tell us about the Host Hotel. Tell us why people want to stay at the Host Hotel when you go to Vegas and where it's at and all that.
Hey, Jeff, can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yeah.
1 second. When you talk about a Host Hotel, I do have to say this. When you used to go to West Palm Beach and Johnny Scola ran that tournament, you want to talk about a Host Hotel and a host. John rolled out the carpet. Right, Jeff? I think he set the precedence for every other team.
That was way more important than the tournament.
I mean, Vegas is Vegas. West Palm, John made everyone feel comfortable. I mean, he rolled out the carpet. And between him and Rocco's Tacos, and Rocco's one of the biggest supporters of police softball. And I'll tell you, he used to go to those tournaments in West Palm Beach, and guys would be like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was incredible.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, I'm sorry.
So I got to go back because you mentioned Mike Snyder. So I want to say one thing about that guy real quick. Snyder is probably, and like Rick is right, talking about intimidation and stuff like that. So if you ever remember the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, when the big black guy got his car all busted up and he had to play like the rival high school the next day, and he's flying over the line, like tackling the quarterback and like just doing it. That is Mike Snyder every game. That is the most intense guy you'll ever. The speed of a guy, 6'5", 265. I mean, everything's a double. Great infield grounder, it's a double somehow, right?
Crazy.
But Rick brought up a good point about him is on the field and off the field. When Dell died, and I might get choked up here, he was up on a trail up in the city where Mike worked, at Claremont PD. And there's a hiking trail up there, and Dell was up in there. He was 2 miles up into this trail. And Snyder led a posse of police softball people up there. Braun, there was a big group of guys that all lived in and around that area, and they didn't let Dell's body sit by himself up there until they created their own escort down the hill to the mortuary. And it was very powerful that's the kind of guy that he is. I mean, he's not going to, he sat there for hours waiting for the coroner to get there. And he's like, I'm not leaving my buddy up there, even though Dell had already passed. He wasn't going to leave him alone. So that's Mike. Anyway.
And Jeff, if you don't mind real quick, this is where I'm coming from with police softball. And, there's nothing better than, for me, going to, and I know y'all share the same feelings. There's nothing better than going to a park where it's exclusively, first responders too, because I love going to first responder tournaments, but, in particular, police softball. There he is. Yeah. That was a cool little cake. That was at the Texas Showdown. We had these Star Wars guys show up, man. It was pretty cool, man. Yeah. When I go to these parks, letting my kids run around and letting them, I don't have to worry about that, man. My wife, if she's over there, she spills something, somebody's going to get out of their chair. They're going to go pick it up. They're going to give it to her. I mean, dude, you're talking about being in the safest. I can't imagine how many guns there are there, but I mean, just being in a safe environment where you can relax, feel great. Hey, that competition's there. Make no mistake. You talk about heated stuff going on the field. You're talking, all that. Hey, that's in the spirit of competition. Jeff said it in a video that we have. Hey, man, this is where guys get to let loose. They get to have fun. They can cuss. They can do all of that, but it's all in that spirit of competition. And we all know that each one of us share those same type of dangers. We've signed that blank check to our community, and whatever you want to write in there to include our lives, we're going to do it. And for me, I absolutely love that regardless of personalities, we all got our personalities. But what I love is that if something goes down, I'm going to say, if the shit goes down, we're freaking heading towards that problem. We're going to eliminate that threat. We're going to do whatever. I mean, we're not going to leave each other hanging. And that's what you're touching on, Jeff. And that to me is what I love about being in that, because not a lot of people understand. And I'll speak for myself. A lot of people don't understand where I'm coming from with that. I was in the Air Force before, got out, and then I've been a 23-year police officer. And man, I'm all about my service to my community. And I'm all about, absolutely ready to give my life up to try to help others. And that's what I love about this circuit. So going back to the Host Hotel, you're going to be able to experience
that. Ties it back in. So I'll tie it back in, right? So the importance of that Host Hotel is guys will say, I got this great deal for $8 a night cheaper at wherever. Hey, great for you. I mean, if the $8 a night is, But there's something to be said about that host hotel. And we've been using the Golden Nugget forever. And I get, I have no connections or ties to them. But whatever the case is, when you go out to that pool, the Golden Nugget, and you look around that pool on a Wednesday afternoon, usually a Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, Thursday evening, and you see these dudes from all over, it is like a high school reunion every year. And just to see the guys, and I mean, it is absolutely amazing. I remember one year we were out there taping up the bats we're taping up the bats, and it just became the party became bigger than the tournament. I mean, just sitting there and just bullshitting and telling the stories Rick and I are telling now, right? Imagine having 50 guys standing around telling all these stories, each one having different stories and whatnot. So I think sometimes guys do miss out on the fact when, it's important to stay like where the other guys are, because that's part of the experience.
Absolutely.
We like the Nugget only because it's reasonably priced and it's close to the fields. But most importantly, the reason we use the Nugget is I don't know anybody in Vegas, right? But I know all the Sin City cops, right? Sin City Vegas team, right? Noel Robertson, those guys. So they're the ones that told me, hey, the local Las Vegas Police Department guys, they stay at the Nugget, right? They won't stay at the other hotels. They stay at the Nugget because it's clean. They treat the cops well. And you know what it's like, man. We all are cops, right? And you'll have the hotels in your town, and there's some you would never, ever stay at, and there's some you would stay at. Well, that's the one they stay at. So we've been with them ever since, and we enjoy it. Unfortunately, like for us, like I'm not there much, man. It's like I got the first day and I'm in the field from dark to dark. We get there at 5 a.m. and we leave at midnight. You know what I mean? So I don't get to enjoy it as much as I'd like to, but I tell you that one day when we always get there a couple of days early just to go hang out by the pool and see all the guys. It's important. The camaraderie again.
I'm going to tell you as a manager, and you guys have, have experience in that. It's a requirement. I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody's hurting for funds, they're trying to make this happen and they find a deal, it is what it is. But I try to explain to them what we do off the field is just as important as what we do on the field. When it's that last inning, we're down by, 8, whatever, we already have an out. I mean, when you go up to bat, you're thinking about your team. You don't want to let your team down. This isn't individuals, man. It's just like when we go to work. We're not letting our team down. Nobody comes out to make an out, strike out, pop up, whatever, miss a pop fly. But for me, if we're hanging out in that host hotel and we meet downstairs, we go have a drink, we have something to eat, man, families also, there you go. That's it. There's my boys right there. When you hang out together and you're able to experience things like that, man, you talk about synergy. You can bring all-stars together. I've seen it happen. They bring a bunch of all-stars in, fly people from everywhere. And what ends up happening, hey, they might win here and there, but for the most part, man, if you don't have that chemistry, and that chemistry just doesn't happen in practice, it happens at the host hotels. And that's why it's so important for me.
I agree.
Yeah, man. So, hey, got my essay law going on now. Got my Hall of Fame shirt. I was very, very, very honored to be inducted.
Is that a protein drink you got there?
What's that?
Mr. Blair, is that a protein drink you got there?
It's a Pabst Blue Ribbon in my PS.com mug from World Series I.
Yeah. Hey, there's a bunch of dudes right there that are heavy hitters. I was very honored to be inducted and accepted into that Hall of Fame class right there, because you start talking about what I think is important. One of these shows that we're going to have is we're going to be highlighting these officers who are in police softball who are doing good for the community. They go out, whether it's a nonprofit, whether they do work on their own. Dan McIntyre, who's on the stream right now, Dan does a lot for Special Olympics, as I do, and I want to highlight these dudes, man, because I thoroughly enjoy that. I wasn't inducted. I played my game before I decided to manage a team. When I manage a team, man, I knew that my game was going to suffer. I knew I was going to be worried about lineups, who's not showing up at the last second. Somebody booked a flight before the tournament's over. I mean, just crazy stuff. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
That?
But ultimately, I believe that it was what I contribute to the game, because the circuit didn't really know me, with my abilities, because I was the shit earlier. And so it was really neat to be recognized for being a sportsman and all that kind of stuff. And that's what's neat, Jeff, is that, and Rick, is you guys have awards that it's not just championship awards. can you go ahead and go through we got about 9 minutes left. Can you go ahead and go through some of these awards that you guys hand out? I was very fortunate to win one of them, and I want you to explain it.
I thought you were going to ask to go through all Rick's awards because 9 minutes wouldn't be enough time. So, the lot of tournaments he's won.
Yeah, right.
So we give out every year at the World Series. You have your the Del Pickney MVP. And that's obviously the most valuable player of your team. We used to have what we called All Tourney, and we started calling them All World because we're not just any other tournament; it's the World Tournament. Every team goes. The period. Bottom line is, teams don't miss the World Series if you're in police softball. So you have all world medals. Then you have a defensive MVP, and one of the more important awards that it's important not to overlook is the Pat Hill Inspirational Award. So what happened was when the Great Lakes Lawmen, I hope some of these guys are listening right now, when the Great Lakes won the World Series, I want to say 2011. I might be wrong on the year. It might be 2010. When they won the World Series, they were not supposed to win the World Series. They weren't the favored team, just like Rick's team when they won in 2009. They were not supposed to win it necessarily, right? They had a pretty fair year, and then they caught fire, right? He came into the World Series in other years where they were supposed to win it and maybe didn't. So whatever the case was, when the Great Lakes won it that year, Dell is our camera guy. He's taking pictures, and there's a big celebration, biscuits on the hill, people are jumping up and down. And in the background is this guy, Pat Hill, the third baseman, who's dropped down on one knee and he's praying. So before he came to celebrate with his teammates, he gave thanks to the Lord. And the guys explained that Pat was not the most talented guy on the team, but he was always the heart of the team. And he was the guy that always gave the most effort and always picked everybody up and blah, blah, blah. He was the spark plug, right? But as a player, he was okay, right? But he's the guy that carried that team emotionally. So in that off season, Pat was chasing down a murder suspect in Detroit and was shot and killed. And at the next World Series, we had the whole World Series was a tribute to Pat, and we came up with the Pat Hill Inspirational Award. It's a great little medal, and we took that picture. That picture was never designed to be taken. It was he's in the background of this picture.
I don't know if you guys can see that, Jeff. I'm sorry. If you see that that medal there I'm wearing, again, I was fortunate enough to be distinguished and to be able to be given this honor. But that's that medal that's going to go. Yeah, that goes the only team that gets that is the team that wins their division, and it's for the most inspirational player. It's the guy that played. He might not have had the highest batting average or the most home runs, but he was the guy that was always picking everybody else up. And oftentimes that he really is the MVP, although the numbers don't support it. So the Pat Hill Inspirational Award is important. And yeah, Trini did win it. The year that you won it was a very special year. I mean, you had just beat cancer. Your team your team was on the verge of breaking up. You came back. You hit a walk-off home run to win it. I mean, it was crazy, tears. I was crying. You were crying. Champagne. Yeah. It was amazing. That's why if it weren't for stuff like that, I wouldn't be involved in this anymore, right? Yeah,
I don't need, it's like I live vicariously through all you guys watching you guys celebrate. So that's Pat.
Yeah. Hey, I know that these memories, we talked about that cancer. I'll just touch on it quickly. 2016, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and very fortunate that it had not spread. A lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. You can see the difference there. I was dealing with it, but I'm very fortunate to have recovered from that. Well, October, that was in January. October rolls around, the World Series, hadn't been playing a whole lot. And this thing happened right here. Let's see if we
have Danny Spinelli from our team.
Bye.
Go! 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 Yeah! Yeah!
Hey,
man, I was there. I saw it all.
I don't know if you could hear it. I couldn't hear it on mine. Could y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Man, when you hear those emotions, it's the reason I show that, because it isn't for the vanity part of it. This isn't for look at me. Okay. The reason I wanted to show that was because when you realize that emotion that was in that moment, without Jeff and Dale creating this, without there being that environment that we could go and work our way up, and to have a moment like that, I'm telling you right now, that is a defining moment in my life. That felt like I took my first step at really getting past cancer. And little did I know a couple of years later it would come back. But But I'll tell you what, you know, all of our time is coming, so I'm not being morbid or anything. But when my time comes, man, I'm telling you right now, dude, I'm going to lay in that bed and I'm going to want to watch that video over and over again. So thank you guys again for creating that opportunity for us. So we're going to get back in. Tyson Beck is asking about the Chevy Right Award, and let's go. If you can run it down a little bit more on the
sorry.
awards.
So the awards that I just named are for at the end of the tournament. Then we have a different awards group, which includes the Chevy Right. And that's like at the beginning of the tournament, we have your player of the year, your defensive player of the year, your sponsor of the year, manager of the year. Rick's got it. Rick's been there. You probably won it the year. I think you probably won it. Somehow we have a knack for picking the guy.
The year we won it.
The year you won it, right? I can't tell you how many times we pick the player of the year and his team wins it that same year. It's almost like I'm the Swami or something. So, and then we have the Chevy Right Award, and Chevy Right is the guy who's just like the Trini of softball, like the guy who's just got a good heart and just like puts more into. You don't have to be a player, you don't have to be any of those guys, but if you have a good heart, which Chevy Right had. Chevy Right was a kid who was Keith Benjamin introduced us to him. He died, he passed away, and he was dying. But he wanted to be sworn in as a police officer, and the agency Chandler Police in Arizona swore him in as a police officer. And we invited him to come throw out the first pitch at our World Series in his Chandler Police uniform. He threw out it's a great picture. Dell's right next to him. He's throwing out the first pitch, and Chevy passed shortly after that. But we said, we're going to have the Chevy Right Award for the guy who puts more into the game beyond softball. And that's not based on just the tournament like the Pat Hill. It's based on your body of work. So anyway, so the Chevy Right is a very important award. I might have missed one. Oh, then we have the Outstanding Police Officer of the Community. That comes through Garrett Metal Detectors. And that's for the guy who really puts into his community as a police officer and happens to be a softball player. Has nothing to do with softball. You got to be on the team, but who puts into the community? It's people who put back into the community. So, yeah. So,
awesome.
So to synopsize, at the beginning of the tournament, we have this award ceremony, usually a Hall of Fame game, an all-star game, a home run derby. And at the end of the tournament, we have the individual team awards to include the Dell Pick Me MVP and the Pat Hill Award. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, man. I know I only asked you for an hour of your time, but I love it, man. And, you know, we still got 72, 71 people still watching. And if it's okay with you guys, just a few more minutes, I'd love to, we're right on that cusp of like covering that whole thing. Just a couple minutes.
All right, let's spend the next couple minutes talking about who just dialed off and who quit on us, because I want to list a name because they're all blackballed.
Then I get the awards this year.
Hey. And then we're going to put Tirelli's New York goons on them, and they're going to end up with sleeping with the fishes.
You know what? Next, Rockio. I tell you, that's a guy who used to get off the plane at an engraved award for him everywhere we went.
Oh,
what
God.
a player. What a
I love hanging
Rick
out
and I
with you,
can. I mean,
man.
you can have just a show telling stories. I remember one time we went to dinner, and the Blues were sitting across from us, and Rockio got a T-bone steak. And he didn't need the silverware. He just grabbed the thing and was eating it off. Rick was there. He was eating off the bone. This guy was a savage.
We got one of those guys on our team.
What a player. Oh, my God. The Rock. Oh,
Yeah, we got a guy named Cody who's like that. He'll pick up the steak. No problem at all.
Johnny Nijak, 30th player ever to play the game. Oh, my God. He was always dirty, diving everywhere. He was never the guy, you give him a clean uniform in 2 seconds, it was filthy. He was diving everywhere.
Just next episode, just let us talk for like a half an hour. Just tell war stories, because we'll tell you the war stories.
And we will. We'll have one of those episodes where it'll be about war stories. Trust me. I'm excited about that. I'll tell you, we're Maddie got on the deal, and he put on the other end of that home run, I still get chills. Man, I'm going to show you a picture of something that happened after we were able to win that tournament, and I was just fortunate enough that my team put us in a position where I could come up and get a decent hit. Man, this is what happened right after that home run. I don't know if we've got that. Let's see. We'll show it here in just a second, but
Where's my J, man? Where's my J, dude?
I'm gonna tell you, man, I got that ball sitting in my office, and that is freaking a class act, dude. That gave me chills that they thought enough of me. You just lost in your division, You just on a walk-off, you were leading before the inning started. And then you turn around and, you know, that's why, for me, I'm supposed to be headed to Colorado right now. And I stopped for this podcast because it's what it means to me. And that right there is one of those reasons why, man. Bunch of great dudes.
Well, that's the first time the Northern Lawmen finished in second place. They finished in second place 3 times since then, so they're probably not as happy about that anymore. Luke is pissed, but he says no more second place. They're second place 2 years in a row these last 2 years.
Hey, Jeff.
They're a great team.
I got to say, every tournament I had I lose my voice.
Oh, yeah.
And we had when we won our World Series.
That was crazy.
But Dell coming up to me and saying, Rick Tirelli. I couldn't even talk. And I started to like tear up, cry. And Butch Crozier picked me up. And I still have that picture that Dell had given me. And all you saw is my number 3 and this big monster, Butchie Crozier, hugging me. I don't know if there's been one of the best moments of my life.
So Rick's crying, and I remember like because I got a good memory, right? Rick is like my blues, and the next thing you know, bear hugged, and like so no voice whatsoever.
I couldn't even speak.
And the best thing about that, like I said, with that was like Rick's team was a good, like I said, anytime those major teams, they're all great, right? But they weren't supposed to win it necessarily. They kind of coasted, and they're probably ranked 7th, 8th in the nation or something. And they just became a buzzsaw, and it was like electric.
Minnesota game, on the walk-off, they pitched. Crozier got all those big hits, but then we played Minnesota back and forth, every time we played.
The catch over the wall, that was great. Yeah.
Catch, and then after the catch, then we end up scoring. We end up hitting a walk-off on him. I couldn't believe we had a walk-off on him.
Yeah, it was magic. That year for the Blues was like. That's what happens, though. That's the difference in the world. It's like you see a team like that, like they catch fire, and just you just see it in the dugout. Like these guys aren't going to lose. I remember they had a third baseman, and they hit a ground ball down the third baseline, and instead of using his glove, he bare hands it and throws it. Like, how do you do? Like, what possessed you to even do that? You know, because they get so deep into the fact like we are not going to lose, and that was the Blues mentality. Yeah. And you get a team, you get a good team that all of a sudden collectively catches that mentality. Ain't nobody going to beat them. They were there. That was impressive.
That was like,
but you can see that happening too.
Another guy, Michigan guys that year. That was another guy, Wax.
Wax.
Yeah. He'd the ball to the pitcher. He'd be on second base too. That guy where the hell did he go from? Yeah. Oh, I love those guys. Those guys are great. They used to come with me a lot of times on some of the tournaments where you could have multiple cities.
Oh, yeah.
Just take
Wax played with you guys, right?
Oh, and Johnny, Z, and all them. Great guys, man. Great guys.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna round this off with. I've been highlighting some of the jerseys and the hats that I've been given over the years, but we've got behind Jeff. You've got all your World Series. Are these shirts? Are they explain what? Man, they have some really cool designs.
Yeah,
on those shirts, man. Super.
So
cool.
what those are? What you're seeing there is it's all the different designs of all the different World Series. Every year we have a different kind of theme or a logo. We've had this will be our 16th year. So there's 16 different primary shirts that we've had as our designs. And there's some of them you see behind there, but our first year ever was one of my favorite ones. And it was Gunslingers, and half the country. It was a picture. I don't have it on here. It was a picture of the United States. This is before Canada got involved. It was a picture of the United States, and the left side, of the Mississippi was red and the right side was blue, and it was East against West. And Rick remembers this, man, and it was a big deal, man. That East against West All-Star game, because we didn't know each other, right? We didn't know each other. We didn't see them. They didn't see us. This, like I said, UFC 1, right? It was a big deal, East against West, and of course I would hype it up so much on the message board.
Not you,
right? But anyway, so those are all the logos of the different World Series. But I tell you what, my favorite one is that very first World Series. Everything was East against West, and the East kicked the West. They kicked the West ass a couple years, right? And the West goes, "Hey, we got to step our game up a little bit, because East was tough, man." And then things started balancing out. Now it's what you see in the circuit is much more like the UFC, where every fighter in the UFC is kind of the same, right? Mixed martial arts, some ground skills, some striking skills. All the teams have figured it out. But in those early days, man, it was worlds colliding, like different styles, different. And it was just, oh man, the New York fans, oh my Lord, when we played the New York Metro in the championship game, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Like it was just you just cut it. So quick story. Then I'll stop talking. That game against New York Metro, I was playing on the Alliance, and the New York Metro game was so intense. It went 8 innings. It was in the Marquee Field, and all the East Coast guys were trapped in Palm Springs because they were all flying home the next day. So all the West Coast teams got eliminated. So my team had no fans, so they all left, and everybody there was rooting for the Metro. And Metro, everyone loves Metro, right?
Yeah,
for the most part. Metro's a popular team. It's all everybody loves Flip and Donnie and all these guys, right? So nobody wanted it. We had Nate Baez with his flat bill and dudes doing caca shots, and they did not like that, right? So anyway, long story short is we ended up winning the game, but that's not the point. The point was, here's the point. Our left fielder was a guy named Pete Simmelsberger, and he threw the winning run out at home plate, what would have been the winning run, and then he came in and knocked in the winning run to win the game. And afterward, Pedro, we ended up high-fiving, and Pete says, he turns to me and goes, "I'm done, bro." And he's like 37 years old at the time. I go, "What do you mean you're done?" He goes, "I'm done playing softball." I go, "Why are you done playing softball?" He goes, "Because I'm always going to chase this moment, and this moment's never going to happen again."
Oh, wow.
That guy never played another game of softball. He took up golf. I still want Pete come play softball. So anyway, that's how intense the World Series can get. So
yeah, that's
what
what
Rick's got a shirt. Yeah.
That's what Del gave me the last time I'd seen him.
Yeah.
Wow, very special. I got it at home too. I had a lot of shirts I had to choose from that have PS.com on them, so I picked a few, but that one was at home, and it was.
Trini, I had to give you one good story what these guys did to me after we had won the World Series in 2009 or 10.
2010, first year in Vegas, Rick.
Right.
First year in Vegas.
2011, Del and JB made up a shirt with us partying on the back of it, and they gave it to their team to inspire them to say, "This is what we're going to do this year."
Yeah, Del made it look like a boxing, like we're the challengers and they're the champions, right? And like,
great. Yeah. It was great.
Hey, Rick, would you mind just briefly showing everybody, what you got laid out behind you, man? If you can. Is there a way you can do it?
I got a couple of rings here.
Dude, rings,
a couple of those. That. I got to walk the computer a little bit, though, and show you what I got.
Yeah, man. Yeah, do it.
A couple of shirts. Dayton, Ohio, West Palm Beach, the blue shirt, Minnesota, SoCal. And this one here, which I love the most. And my Dell one is in a frame downstairs. The Legends game.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
That was a great game.
I love that game. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Hey, and just one shout out is I'm always looking like it used to be me and Dell, right? And now I got Ryan with me. But at the same time, man, like Dell was pretty creative. So I'm always looking for ideas. So like that Legends game, stuff like that. If you guys have any creative ideas on how to make the World Series better, I mean, the worst thing I can tell you is that we can't make it work, right? But the big thing is time constraints. But like the Legends game, that first ever East-West All-Star game where Spinelli this is no joke. He put himself in as a pinch runner twice and got hit by grounders twice running the bases and was called out. And basically he lost the game because Spinelli, how do you lose a game as a pinch runner? Who gets hit twice? Both times at first base.
And he used to scream. Oh my God. Guys used to look at Spinelli and he used to dye his hair sometimes. He's a big boy, and God bless him.
He's been drinking. Yeah. He's been drinking. He goes, "I'm pinch runner," and he inserted himself to first base. He hit a ground ball between first and second. He gets hit by the ball. He's out. 2 innings later, same thing happens. He's out. Like, Spinelli, what are you doing? Anyway.
Man, those are great memories, man. Those are really. It's really, man. You see genuine smiles, genuine laughs from you guys, and it's just, man. Jeff, I normally see you at the World Series, and you're always running. Everybody
working. It's a job.
Anyone who's ever put on a tournament understands that, and trust me, we're gonna have a tournament directors show. It's going to be great for people to be able to understand, all that goes into it, because it's one thing to appreciate it from the stands. It's another thing to be behind the scenes and to understand all that goes on all year long for that to happen. So, hey, I'll tell you, I've got a really cool blanket at home that my wife made of all these shirts. I have so many softball shirts, and I started getting rid of a lot of them over time, but then I thought, man, let me maybe I should keep a few, you know, I mean, this is, you know, and boy, I missed out on so many of them, but I got a couple of really cool blankets that my wife made. And I think that's wonderful to be able to save those, because I have memories, dude. I look at that blanket and it's like, I remember that one because we got double dipped, or I remember that one because we came back and double dipped, or whatever. Man, you can look at a blanket like that and all your shirts and just evokes all these different memories. So I think it's a great idea to keep those shirts, and the World Series has, you know, some really cool shirts. So I'll tell you what, I want to tell you, man, thank you guys so much again for joining us. For everyone who joined us, I'm going to ask you on these, I'm going to ask you to tune in, and man, if you got some questions, we're going to put that topic out ahead of time. If you've got questions, man, have them ready, send them in, and I'll be able to ask these legends. I'll be able to ask these players, you know, and we want to have a lot of interaction. We want you guys to have an ability to be able to ask your questions, any comment on anything that we have, and you know, we'll try our best to get to them. But hey, Jeff, and Rick, again, I cannot tell you how happy I was that you guys joined us.
Thanks, guys.
I'm really hoping that this whole thing works out with the World Series. We'll see how it goes. I mean, sounds like it's going to be all right, but you know, Jeff, I know a lot of people are asking what's going on, and you know, hey, you're just like us. You're waiting to find out. You're waiting to see what's going on. But
I got a text into Trump. I'm sure he'll get back to me later.
Hey, Jeff, good luck. Stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe.
Yeah. I appreciate you, brothers. Thank you very much. And guys, real briefly, I'm going to fill you in on something. Don't leave just yet. I got something to show you. We are, and Jeff, you know what? Hey, Jeff, I don't know if you guys are still there, but real quick, check this out. Can we pop up that picture? We are going to be giving this rifle away. And this rifle is associated with a tournament that we've got going on. I don't know if y'all know what that is. That's a Chris Vector. It's a 45. It's a really unique weapon if you guys never have seen it or had an opportunity to shoot it. But we're going to be giving one of those things away, and I'm going to tell you about how to get that, an opportunity to win that here in just a second, because I want you guys to know something. Just a quick promo. We've got a conference that we're getting ready to put on. It's the International Keepers of the Peace First Responders Conference. It's happening here April the 12th through the 14th in San Antonio, Texas. It's a badass conference with badass breakout sessions for police, fire, military, and EMTs. And I'm going to tell you, I've been in the military, been a police officer, never been to I've never seen a conference like this before. We're going to have breakout sessions within the hotel. It's going to be talking about all different subjects, man. We're talking about if you've ever wanted to have a podcast. We're going to have a breakout session on podcasting. If you're interested in retiring, we're going to have a specialist there to help you plan on that retirement. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to have specialists there for that. We're going to have a CrossFit breakout session where you have a beginner CrossFit, an intermediate, and then, hey, we're talking about competition level. And there'll be
that picture of JB.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming. You might be giving the talk. I don't know. But, man, we're going to have breakout sessions like that. We also are going to have things like, when we talk about finances. One of the things that I'm very concerned with is the suicide rate, obviously, amongst military and police and all our first responders, man. And it really, really hurts me every day that this conference has not happened, because we are going to be providing some really neat ways of thinking outside of your own way of thinking. That's the purpose for this thing. We're going to throw badass breakout sessions in there, but we're definitely going to have subject matters that allow you to think outside of your own way of thinking. So listening to guys like Les Brown, Alan Watts. I mean, these guys who have different ways of approaching problems. Hey, look, if you've got an issue, sometimes, if you can change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And, our mind's the most powerful tool we've got. And I really am excited to present all of these different really neat topics. But there's also badass breakout sessions outside of the hotel. So we're going to have a day that you can work out and shoot with our SAPD SWAT competition team. I will show you something real quick, man. Check this out. These dudes are world renowned, man. They are unbelievable. We'll run this video for you guys real quick. You're going to get an opportunity.
San Antonio is going to set the bar for us, and they're off.
amazing, man. These guys have competed on a worldwide basis against like the GSG9. I mean, they've won national titles. I don't know if it got stuck there or not, but hey, look, this is going to be one of those breakout sessions that we're going to have where you can come work out and shoot with these dudes. We're going to have jiu-jitsu seminars, 5K, 10Ks. Man, we're going to be throwing all kinds of stuff out there. So make sure that you, I'm excited, guys, about this because in another way, I'm super excited about, saving some lives. And I know that we can do that with this conference. And so I'm super excited, ready to get the ball rolling. I hope everybody on the circuit really considers coming down. Hey, it's the best time of the year to visit the Riverwalk. Last time at our tournament, it was like August or something like that, man. And it was freaking hot. And this April is going to be a wonderful time to go check out the Riverwalk. And we've got the Hyatt Regency. It's steps off the Riverwalk. So you're there, dude. No Uber and no anything, man. Paul Chavez is saying, is it active military or is it open to veterans as well? Veterans, brother. Active, veteran, doesn't matter. Hey, we're going to have Business 101. I myself, I've had a Biotech's our crime and trauma scene cleaning company. We're franchised. And I am an active duty policeman who had a business and I was able to franchise it. So I can help in those ways, So there are just so many great breakouts. We're going to be able to fill you in on next shows, but I wanted you guys to hear that because I know we've all experienced, losses of our brothers and sisters. And so we're hoping to be able to do some great things for them. So, hey man, once again, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you, brother. Everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for the support. We're going to have a great time. Oh, you want to know about how to win this rifle, right? Hey, Deanna, would you mind coming on and let everybody know what they need to do in order to be able to get a chance at winning this rifle?
All right. Hi, everybody. So Carly's going to pull up a little screen here in a second that'll cover us. That'll tell you a couple of steps on how you can win this Chris Vector rifle. So the first thing you need to do is subscribe to Trini's YouTube channel, which we will link it below in the description or in the comments or something. We'll make sure and link that for you guys. That way you know what that is. We're going to ask that you guys share the video or share Trini's channel with 10 different friends. And then after you do that, if you can go and leave a comment on any of the YouTube videos, we'll be monitoring all of those. So you can do a traveling with Trini. You can respond on this one or on the conference video that we posted. Just leave us a comment. That way we know that you've done that and that you've shared that. So those are the 3 simple steps you guys can do to get entered into the raffle to win that Chris Vector rifle. So that's the video. Carly made this video.
There you go. You subscribe. Yeah, you definitely want to hit that notification bell on the side because if you just subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to look up videos, but you need to hit that notification bell on the right and then hit the top one, and that'll notify you for all the videos that come out, to include this podcast. This will be available on the podcast also. So I really appreciate y'all's support. Go to my channel, and we're gonna be rolling out even different types of podcasts, different types of shows. So it's gonna be exciting. Hey, once again, thank you guys so much. We're hoping that the tournament happens, but either way, stay safe, man. I got your 6. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, brothers and sisters.